Thank you. Welcome to The Merits of Multiplayer, Actionable Insights, Workable Advice, and Real-World Examples. A title that makes for great SEO, but it kind of boils down to the naked truth of multiplayer game development. This is not me, by the way. It's just a stock photo. I'm Rick. I run business development for GamePoint. This is Bob. Bob runs game development for GamePoint. Together, well, actually with a lot of other people, we form GamePoint. GamePoint does synchronous multiplayer social games. We've been doing that since 1998. We have games like Word Tornado, which is a shameless ripoff of Scrabble. Royal Dice, which is somewhat similar to Yahtzee. Card Party. We have a bingo game, which is probably a game, if you know us, you would know us from. Our GamePoint bingo is pretty big on Facebook. And we just launched GamePoint Poker this Monday. I'm going to run through some of the merits of multiplayer game development, and I'm going to do that by showing you some of our numbers. I will give you a handful of tips and tricks that we used to make our bingo game into one of the best monetizing bingo games in the industry. And then Bob is going to tell you why you shouldn't do multiplayer game development. And we're going to end up with a little bit of information about our poker launch, which, like I mentioned, was this Monday. So I'm actually going to start off with some graphs. It might be a bit overwhelming, but it's quite interesting information once you see past all the numbers. Okay, we're going to just start with engagement. What I did for the next couple of slides is I bucketed our players. I divided them into 6 groups, and those 6 groups signify the amount of social interaction they have within the platform. Bucket number 1 is people that don't chat, don't have any friends, or they might have friends, but not in the game. And as they have more friends and as they chat more, they move up into buckets where the last bucket is people that just spend hours and hours and hours doing nothing but chatting and have a gazillion friends. So those are the 6 buckets. I'm not really going into how I divided it. If you really want to know, I'll probably write a blog post about it. So we're going to look at, this is kind of hard to see. We're going to look at engagement in the form of sessions per day, time spent per session, and then the average minutes per day per user, and using those aforementioned buckets. First number of sessions per user per day for people that don't chat. You probably won't be able to see it. It's 2.8 sessions. As people move up and as they have more interaction with other players, as they have more friends, as they're chatting more, that number increases, and it increases quite dramatically. The difference between somebody that doesn't chat and somebody that chats even a little is already 2.8 sessions versus 3.6 sessions. That's already quite a big difference. Our most heavily socially engaged users actually have over 6 sessions per day. If we then look at minutes, you see the same kind of increase, but the increase, it goes from 28 minutes to 38 minutes for the really engaged users. The increase is much flatter than the increase in number of sessions. I think that's probably because we don't actually change the length of the game. You're chatting a lot around the game, but a bingo game still takes the time a bingo game takes. And a game of Scrabble still takes the time a game of Scrabble takes. What these really socially engaged users are probably doing is checking in on their friends. A couple of times a day, they're wondering what's going on the platform, how's everybody doing, they're logging in, playing a couple of rounds. If you multiply these 2 numbers, you actually get the number of minutes per user per day. You see that's 80 minutes for a non-chatting user, which is actually already pretty decent. If you move that up to the most active chatters, that's over 4 hours a day on average, which is a long time. Some retention numbers, we're going to use the same 6 buckets, and we're looking at day 1, day 7 retention, 1 month retention, and 3 month retention. Day 1 retention for a non-chatter is a little over 12%, which is less than stellar. Once somebody starts chatting, it jumps up quite dramatically to 20%. If they chat a little bit more, we managed to get it up to 23%. Actually, the way I divided these buckets, it requires a certain amount of social interaction before you make it to a higher bucket, so it's quite impossible to have that amount of social interaction in day one. So we don't have day one retention numbers for these higher buckets. If we go to the day 7 retention, again, for non-chatters, less than stellar, a little over 4%. Once people start chatting, it triples. We're over 12%. Chat a little bit more, we're over 18%. Chat even a little bit more, we're at 50%. If any of you do free-to-play games, 50% day 7 retention is pretty crazy. Again, the number of the amount of social interaction required to get into the higher buckets kind of makes it impossible for people to get in these buckets within the first 7 days. So there are some people in there, but putting the number up here makes no sense because it's a really small number. If we look at 1 month and 3 month retention, we do have these numbers for every one of those buckets. Then we go from a little over 19% for non-chatters, which actually isn't even that bad. Once they start chatting, it doubles, 38%. And this is very light chat. And very light chat is, I might type a line or 2 a day. That's really all they do. Goes up, goes up, goes up, goes up. If people are really, really socially engaged, if they're talking to a lot of people, they're making a lot of friends, the percentage of people that come back the next month is over 68%, which is good. 3 month retention, 9.50% for non-chatters. Again, not too bad. Doubles when we start chatting, increases, 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 up to 37.5% for the really, really socially engaged players. So if we get somebody that's making friends in that first month, is getting into conversations in that first month, over a third of those people are still around 3 months later. The effect of that on your monetization is quite dramatic. I wrote a blog post about it a while ago on LinkedIn, so you might want to look it up, where I show you the spread for our quarterly revenue per registration cohort, so how old is a player when they spend. And over 25% of our revenue is actually generated by people that signed up in 2011 or before. So having this really crazy long retention after months and months and months, and actually years and years and years, it pays off in the long run. Diving in a bit deeper into the monetization thing, I'm going to show you some KPIs. I'm not going to show you the actual numbers. I'm going to show you some benchmarks. So what I did was we took non-chatters as the benchmark. So non-chatters are always 100%, and I'll show you the increase in percentage of paying players and the amount they're paying per time they pay. Again, 6 buckets. Oh yeah, and actually I'll round it off with revenue per daily active user, but that's kind of just multiplying the two together. So you could have done that at home. So 100% for non-chatters, revenue per paying user per day. A little bit of an increase when they chat, even more of an increase. And it steadily goes up to roughly 175% for your really engaged chatters, people that have a lot of friends. It's nice. It's not groundbreaking. Where it gets groundbreaking is the percentage of paying players. So non-chatters, again, taking that as a benchmark, if we take that as 100%, roughly twice as many people pay when they start chatting even a little, when they add 2, 3 friends. When they start chatting some more, some more, some more, some more. The really socially engaged users actually monetize roughly 7 times better than non-chatters. And if you multiply that and you're looking at your revenue per daily active user, we're making 11x off of our really engaged chatters versus non-chatters. So that's kind of the reason why chat is a really important part of our games, because when we get people to chat and when we get people to add friends, all the numbers just start working quite a bit better. Like I told you, we're making a lot of money on bingo, like a lot of money on bingo. And we have some little tricks in our bingo game that help us monetize just a bit better than the competition. Bingo is a social casino game, so you're monetizing gamblers, first and foremost, and that's where most of the other games stop. And we're not just trying to monetize gamblers, we're trying to monetize status. Because people are spending a lot of time in these games, hours upon hours upon hours, they're friends, they're chatting, suddenly it becomes really, really important what the people around them think of these people. One of the basic things we do, and we do that in every single one of our games, the number of people that are online, or the people that are online in a certain room, we sort those by virtual currency level. And it seems like a really tiny thing, but it becomes really important for people to be on top of that list. If you're spending 4 hours a day staring at this screen, you're going to know who's there. And you're going to have people that are playing a lot of games, betting a lot to get up on that list. But what you also get is people that just buy their way up on that list. And once a month, you have these regulars that once a month they spend a couple of $100 in a day to be on top of the list for a day. And it gets noticed. You see it in the chat. So that's one of the things we do. One of the other things we do is kind of interesting. Like, chat is really important, so we try not to touch it ever. When you break the flow of the chat, people are more likely to leave. You want to keep them engaged with each other more than with the game. The only exception we have is in bingo. When you win a hand or a line, a card in bingo, we actually show that in chat. And what happens, it's a very rare occurrence. If you're playing bingo in a room with 100 people, you might win one in every 20 games. But when it does happen, you're in the spotlight. You don't just have that rush of winning, which, again, it's rare. You have that rush of everybody congratulating you, being the center of attention. And we kind of went with that, tried to amplify it by, when the game ends, we actually very prominently show you the people that won in that round. And another little trick that's kind of interesting here is that we make it really, really easy to add these people as friends. So you have to imagine that you're playing a game of bingo. You never win. I mean, you just lost 30 times in a row. You win, that's a rush. You see your name in chat, that's a rush. People start congratulating you, that's a rush. Then you see your picture in the end screen, and then a bunch of friend requests flood in. We monetize that warm, fuzzy feeling you get. So multiplayer, big bucks. I actually just gave you all our secrets, so you could just implement that. And now Bob's gonna tell you why you probably don't want to do that.
Thank you, Rick. So, everybody wants to jump on the multiplayer train right now, right? Well, it's not that easy. In fact, maybe it's a trap even. I mean, it all comes down to two different, very difficult things. Basically, community is going to be really difficult to manage, and the technical part is going to be more difficult to manage than, for example, single-player games. To start off with the server parts, I mean, cheating. It's going to be a really big issue within multiplayer games. I mean, everybody knows the single-player games that you can play. They have a leaderboard, and you reach some certain level, and you see like one of your friends, some person you don't even know, has some gigantic score you cannot reach. You know he's cheating, but you know you can still play the game, you can still enjoy it. But in a multiplayer game, if something of that kind happens, I'm playing a card game with you, and you play a card that's not in a 52 card deck, and you think that guy's cheating, and I'm losing money over it. You know, that's killing for your platform. So players gonna leave if you know you have cheating players on your platform. So how to solve that? Well, it's quite easy. Basically, you have to keep your clients as dumb as possible. You have to put all their intelligence on the server part. You know, so if someone hacks into the client or whatever, server always double checks it. You know, if something isn't right, just ignores it. So keep your clients really as dumb as possible. Well, another thing with multiplayer games is bad connections. Well, we are lucky that we don't have like first-person shooters, like they have. You need to have quick reactions. Well, we don't have that. Normally, there's a game going on, a card game or a bingo game, and every couple of seconds there's an action needed. So if a player has a bad connection because he's on Wi-Fi or he's downloading or whatever, don't tell them he has a bad connection. Just don't tell them anything, because a normal turn takes around 4 or 5 seconds. If a player has 2 seconds lag or whatever is a bad connection, you don't need to tell him that. Of course, if it gets around 30 seconds, you have to tell him, hey, fix your connection, and your opponent gets a screen. Your opponent has a bad connection, so please wait for him. So there are ways to play with connection issue. Of course, we always have the firewall issue, that you're in a hotel or in your school or a library, they want to play a game or something. Be sure that your game goes through port 80. Basically, it's that it's a web-based game, and it acts like a web-based game. So all your communication should go through port 80, which fixes basically all your firewall problems. I won't go into very technical details. You can come to the GamePoint Center and ask me more about it, but I'll keep it a little bit short and simple because we're quite short on time. Thank you, Rick. Well, servers are not only about solving problems. Servers are also, you should be able to let the server do fun things, like friend statuses. Where are my friends at? Which game are they playing? Are they away? Can I invite my friends? Which achievements do my friends have? Which high scores do they have? Replays of their game. I can download their replays. I can save their replays and whatever and so much more. But you have to remember, you have to do this all in real time, which is quite hard if you have like a gigantic number of players on your platform. And having a gigantic number of players on your platform, you must make sure that your servers are always up. You can't afford any downtime. Now, this means also you can't afford any downtime when updating your games. So how are you going to do that? Well, how we solved it is basically when the client loads, he gets all the configuration files from the server. So we can basically make changes while the game is live. This means simple stuff like changing graphics, themes, adding smileys, but also much more difficult stuff like changing the gameplay of the game, enabling, disabling different kinds of options. And that is quite interesting because that means you can just update the game, change the game without any downtime. Now, of course, if you have to go down for whatever reason, make sure the downtime is never longer than 5 minutes. Because if it's going to be longer than 5 minutes, you're going to lose all the players because it's a multiplayer platform. You can't play together, so they're going to leave. But if you're going to go down, make it sure that the client, that the game is still up. People can still chat with each other, and make sure that some of the moderators or admins are in there and telling the community what is going to change. What the people want to know, because most of the bugs they report, the features they ask, it's coming from them. So make it a real cool happening, that tell them what is changing, because you don't go down as much. It's quite a thing that something is happening on a platform. So make it a really cool experience for them. Now, control your community. I'm not gonna dive in really deep into the community thing because it's such a gigantic part of the GamePoint. If you want to know something about the community, go to Jeffrey from GamePoint. He is at our booth, but standing there. He's looking like a Viking, so you can't miss him, basically. Players are relentless, really, on a multiplayer platform, and they're gonna be more relentless even if you're gonna make mistakes. And with mistakes, I mean bugs. That means that you're gonna lose money, because I'm playing in a game and there's some kind of bug that causes me to lose money. I'll get angry. I'll get angry in your open chat, where everybody sees it. So make sure that you, right away when you see a bug or whatever, or players are complaining about a new feature they don't like or whatever, be sure to make live changes. As I told, don't go down, make the changes right away into the game. Communicate with the players and don't communicate in private chat, no, communicate it in the open chat where everybody can see that you are helping the players basically change the game. And how cool is that for the player, that he is complaining with a bunch of other players, 20 players are complaining, 100 players are complaining in the chat. You say, okay, what do you want to get changed? This. And you do it like, boom, you change it in the game within 15 minutes, and the people are going to be very happy about it because you listen to them and you make the changes that they want. Really, really important. Also, ask the right questions. I have a funny story that one time we did a survey. We asked them, if there's one thing in the game, what would you change? And they all basically said, make the game free, we don't want to pay anymore. And I was laughing, right, yeah, that's not going to happen. But then I thought, it's the number one thing that the players want. Why do they want it, And basically it came down to this. We were giving out a daily gift every 24 hours. And every time the players got that gift, the credit gift, they went all in with it, They just played with it. And if they lost, well, they couldn't play anymore, so they left the platform. So what we did is we divided this 24-hour credit gift into a 4-hour gift, which basically means that, yes, they get a little bit less credits to play, but in the end that didn't matter for the players that much. They could play a longer amount of time. And for us it was good because the 24-hour credit gift we divided, well, it means that we have to spend less money on the credit gift. So it was basically a win-win situation. Now, if you succeed to doing all this, all the community stuff, get it right, have a really well-built community backend, have your service function without any problem, you're gonna see the numbers that Rick showed you. And I don't know if you saw Rick happy, but this is how Rick looks when he's happy. So yeah, 2 thumbs up. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit about the development of poker, which problems we had. We have our own framework, which basically means from idea to launch in 4 months, which is pretty fast, if I may say so. We tried a couple of designs. This is the classic design with the table. We tried a round table where we put the player cards more in your face, but that really didn't work out. So we went a little bit with this kind of design. Let's see why it doesn't. There we go. This basically took us 1 month in prototyping, the interfacing, designing of the game. Because our coders are based in Kiev in Ukraine. Well, there were some problems, as you might know, in Ukraine. So it took us 3 months basically delay. We put out a new user experience because basically we said, this is our current lobby, and we were looking at how the hell new players, are they gonna understand this? No. There are like tons of buttons, players won't understand this. So we simplified basically the design into this, but we also changed the right side of the chat. We changed the player list, we changed the top bar, but this meant all these changes are gonna be like 5 extra months. So we basically went back to the beginning and said, okay, we're gonna do that, all those changes later on. We're gonna only focus on the left side, but we now only have 3 buttons. It's gonna be clear as night for new players. So, multiplayer games development, it is about dedication, focus, and daring to break your own rules. You have to be quick because this industry is really, it's evolving like crazy, and there's really big opportunities. And you have to do stuff in between, otherwise you will get behind. You have to grab on the right hype trains, and you have to make sure those trains arrive also in time to be ready for launch. And if you're gonna manage all that again with the community stuff, if you have stable servers, again, you're gonna see something, a happy face from Rick, and I'm giving it over for you.
Okay, I think I might have 30 more seconds to really quickly show you what happened since Monday. We launched poker with 14,000 DAUs now without any marketing, which is kind of nice. The engagement isn't really where the other games are yet, but we're going to iterate that over the next couple of months. Peak CCU, so people online at the same time, are at 1,100 in a couple of days, so we're quite happy there. And what's kind of interesting is that day one retention is over 50%. take into consideration I'm cheating here. These are just GamePoint users I'm putting into poker, so they know our games, they know the platform, but still they find it interesting enough to come back the next day. And this isn't eating into our other games right now, so we're quite happy. In closing, I have 2,000 poker decks at my booth, and I really need to get rid of them because otherwise I have to ship them to the Netherlands, which is really expensive. So help me out and come and get a poker deck. Thank you.